Greetings and welcome to Disrupt Your Day with Petula Sankarsingh. I am the CEO and founder of VisionReady. Disrupt Your Day brings you the struggles, stories, and success of entrepreneurs to learn from and disrupt your day. Welcome everyone to Disrupt Your Day. I'm your host, Petula Sankarsingh. Today we have an amazing entrepreneur coming all the way from a different country. I will let her tell you about her journey there. She is leading a great cause for profit. So we would love to hear her journey, her story, any struggles along the way, and we also want to hear her success. So thank you and welcome to Natsai. Natsai, yes, okay. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having
me. Yes, absolutely. So share with us, where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from Zimbabwe, which is, for those who don't know, it's in the southern part of Africa, just above South Africa. Yeah, it's really hot here right now. The weather has been a lot, but yes, that's where I'm calling from.
Perfect. Well, we are looking forward to hearing all about your business, your entrepreneur journey from the beginning, middle, and end. So please share.
Sure. Okay, so I am the founder of a company called Rated 18 Shoes. And in a nutshell, Rated 18 is a shoe brand that empowers survivors of child marriage through employment and education. So just to give a bit of context to the issue of child marriage, because what I realize is that a lot of people actually don't really know. I mean, they know what it is, but they don't realize how big of a problem it actually is. And why it's sort of necessary to have these organizations that help girls and women who have been through it. So just in terms of stats, every year about 12 million girls get married before the age of 18. Most of the time, it's a forced marriage whereby parents will basically sell their daughters into a marriage with usually much older men. And in some situations, girls use marriage as a way of sort of escaping poverty because, you know, the situation at home is terrible. So they think that by getting married to these older men who, you know, sometimes sort of sell them dreams as well and entice them, saying, you know, if you come stay with me and get married with me, I'll take care of you and so on. So for them, they see it as an escape for a terrible situation at home. So unfortunately, what typically happens is that once they do get married, a lot of them have to drop out of school, or sometimes some of them aren't even in school at the time, and that sort of drives, that's also a cause of child marriage as well. And because of that, they usually aren't able to achieve economic independence, and they aren't really able to stand on their own 2 feet when they're older. So, and also just to define child marriage, for those who might not know, child marriage is when, you know, someone gets married before the age of 18, the legal age of 18. So basically, there's a lot of work being done to stop child marriage. Obviously, what we want to do is just to stop it from happening altogether. We don't want it to happen. But while it is still happening, I sort of realized that there's a gap in terms of the support provided to women and girls who have already been subjected to it. So that's sort of the gap that we try to fill through Rated 18. And the way that we do that is by employing women who are survivors of child marriage. So that way they're able to, so they make our handmade shoes. Our shoes are handmade literally from beginning to end, and we employ them to make those shoes. So that way they're able to earn a regular income and a stable income, which they otherwise wouldn't be able to. And especially in a country like Zimbabwe, where, you know, finding a job already is hard enough, let alone, you know, if you haven't even finished high school, which is the case for most of them, and, you know, you have no previous work experience, it's even harder. So we just provide them with that opportunity to find employment by hiring them at Rated 18 to make our shoes. And then also over 50% of profits go towards educational initiatives. So the main thing that we're doing right now is for girls who would have had to drop out of school. Some of them do want to go back to school, but they can't afford to. So we invest over 50% of the profits that we make each quarter to pay for tuition fees for girls who want to go back to school who may not be able to afford to. And in the medium to long term, what we want to look at, it's still a startup, it's an early stage company, so we're not making tons of money yet.
Right.
But the hope is once we are generating more income and making more profits, I also want to establish innovation hubs where girls can go get access to like mentorship, just access to internet to do research, career guidance and things like that, because I do understand that education isn't only just in the classroom. Especially as an entrepreneur, I'm very much an advocate for, sort of paving your own path. You don't have, I did go to college and all of that, but I understand that that's not everybody's desired path. And people choose to educate themselves in different ways and through their careers. So we also want to just make sure that, we provide the support that these women and girls need as well in that respect. Maybe they want to start their own business, but they don't know where to even begin. Kind of helping them with those kinds of resources. So that's sort of like our medium term plan as well, to establish those innovation hubs.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing plan. Oh my God. Well, we would definitely like to help with that project because that's what we do. So tell me, when did you start?
We officially started in August 2020.
Okay.
So just over a year ago now.
And so what's been your biggest struggle as starting as an entrepreneur, starting such an impactful business and project that has so much meaning to it?
Yeah. The biggest struggle has been just kind of figuring things out. Well, funding has been one struggle because I've literally been bootstrapping this entire company. Part of the reason was because I think part of me just kind of felt like because over the last, since we started, I've just kind of been going through the product development journey and figuring things out because I had zero background in shoemaking. The only experience I had was wearing them. That's as far as I went. So I was literally learning everything from scratch. So I would come up with prototypes, and then I see that, quality wise, we're kind of lacking here, and then improve the shoe and improve. So even in terms of just seeking funding, I only really started actively sort of looking for funding over the last maybe month or two, because I just didn't feel like our product was where it needed to be for me to go and justify, someone giving me money in order to run with this. So I wanted to I guess I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well. So that is that's a bit of a struggle on its own, I guess.
Yes.
Absolutely perfect. So at least now I feel like our product is at a stage where I feel comfortable now saying, hey, we would like for you to come and put your money into this company, and this is what we want to do. So funding was one of the biggest challenges, and like I said, I had zero background in terms of making shoes, so I literally had to figure all of that out from scratch. The initial idea that I actually had in mind when I wanted to start the company was to do sort of like your factory kind of manufacturing.
Okay.
When you're gonna have all this equipment and all of that, and mass production kind of thing. But when I did my financial projections for that, that was gonna need upwards of $100,000, which I don't have lying around. So I was like, okay, we need to kind of rework this model. But so it was a challenge, but it was something that I managed to work through. And I think it was also just very helpful because what I ended up doing was I just kept refining the model and refining it until I went from an expected capital investment requirement of over 100,000 to starting the company with under $3,000.
Oh,
so
nice.
I definitely counted that as a win in my book for sure. So
yes, and that's really great to hear, because I feel like most entrepreneurs do project large, and it's great that you were able to come back and say, you know what, I'm passionate about this, I want to launch it, how can I do it better? Because the best thing is you're scalable, right? Now you're testing the project, you are training women. How many women do you guys have currently, are you guys working with?
Currently we have 3.
Okay, so now you're like,
still very small.
No, which is great. 3 is
Yeah.
great, right? We had a webinar today, and my one thing I always say, if you're not tracking and building data for your company, why do it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
even if you started off with 3, you're still saying, hey, these 3 women, I taught a craft. They're successful, and you have some testimonials and success stories. So I feel
Right.
like it'll help
Absolutely.
you grow tremendously. So yeah, when we talk about struggles too and perfectionism, right? We all have to let go of
That
that.
honestly, that has been the biggest struggle for me, especially since we do handmade products. And these are women who, it's not like they've been making shoes for years. They're literally
Right.
learning when they join the company.
Mhm.
It's different from like, other shoe companies that sell handmade products. They have these people who like, they've basically been making shoes for generations, like their
Yes,
families been
yes,
making
right.
shoes since like their great grand, like so literally it's like an art that runs through the
Yeah.
family and their blood kind of thing. So they're absolutely fantastic at it. And
Oh my
for us,
God.
that's not the case. So I mean, our shoes, they are very well crafted. They're, good quality. Like I said, I'm a perfectionist, so I would never let anything go out that is not, that I don't feel confident in
Mhm.
handing over to a customer, making sure that the
Mhm.
customer is happy. But our shoes are not perfect down to the T. It's not like the kind of shoes that you'll see that are being made by machines. It's not going to
Yeah,
be
right.
of that same like detailed quality. So I noticed the tiniest little things, and there are things that other people probably wouldn't notice, to be honest. But for me, like
Oh.
I do not. So like sometimes we end up having to start again. I'm like, no, I don't feel okay with this. Start over. So like that,
Right.
that the perfectionist in me, like that's actually been such a struggle, especially working with handmade products.
Oh my God. So let me ask you a question. So what made you go the route of shoes for this project?
So for shoes, it actually wasn't shoes when I first came up with the idea. So I first thought about Rated 18 back in 2016. Actually, this was soon after I graduated from college.
Mhm.
So what I initially wanted to do at that time was just sort of like on-demand printed T-shirts and hoodies and things like that.
Mhm.
Because that was just kind of what I was seeing a lot of
Yeah.
around
Mhm.
me. So I was just like, oh, okay, let's do that. But I
Yeah.
think the project and the business, just launching the business, kind of fell off my radar for the main reason being I was just out of college. I was just starting my career. I had a full-time
Mhm.
job, so I was just kind of still kind of figuring out life. So I just kind of fell off my radar because of that. But also in hindsight, I also realized that part of the issue was probably because of the actual product itself. It wasn't something
Mhm.
that I was passionate about. I'm not particular, like I wear t-shirts and hoodies every now and then, but I can't say something that I'm
Mhm.
like passionate necessarily about.
Right.
Like I'm not in love with t-shirts and hoodies, like yeah. So in hindsight, when I then thought about it just before I launched the company, because I started thinking about Rated 18 again last year in 2020,
Mhm.
because we went into lockdown. I had a consultancy that I was running. The client pipeline just pretty much went dry because all of my
Mhm.
clients decided we're going to wait and see how things kind of play out. So I had a lot of
Mhm.
time on my hands. So I picked up the idea of the business again in early 2020. So
Okay.
that's when I kind of realized, I was like, okay, t-shirts and hoodies, it's an okay product, but it's not a product that I'm passionate about. Like, what do I actually like? And I guess I'm sort of a typical woman in that regard. Like, I love shoes. I have more shoes than I actually ever wear. Like, I need to throw away some of them, to be honest. So I was like, it's shoes. And it's always been sort of a not so much a dream of mine that I was like, I'm actively pursuing this, but like, just as a teenager, it was something that I'd always just kind of say in passing that, yeah, one day I want to own my own sneaker company and my own shoe company. But it was never really something that I sort of,
Mhm.
really actively put in motion. So I was like, okay, not I like shoes, because I think as
Yeah.
much as I'm passionate about the cause and the impact behind the company, it's also equally important for me to also be passionate about the actual product that we're making, that
Mhm.
also gives you that extra push and that extra drive to keep going when things are tough, which is pretty much all the time when you're starting out. So you need as much
Yes.
motivation as you can get. So yeah, like I said, initially I was looking at, when you think of starting a shoe company, usually what comes to mind is, these big factories with, all this kind of equipment. And that's why I had that initial estimate of
Yeah.
$100,000 to start
Mhm.
based on that model. But I was like,
Yeah.
okay, is there another way of doing this? So
Right.
that's when I started doing my research, and I was like, okay, yeah, handmade shoes are a thing. Like, we don't really think about it, but like, yeah, people do make shoes by hand. So let's look into that. Is that something that can be done? Is that something that can be learned?
Yeah.
And I did my research, and yeah, that's how we ended up making shoes.
Oh, awesome. So, how does this cause resonate with you personally?
I think for me, I mean, thankfully for me, I'm not a child marriage survivor myself.
Mhm.
I just turned 29. I'm only just getting married. I recently got engaged.
Oh,
So thank
congratulations.
you. So it's not like it's something that I've been through personally, but I've always had this the sentiment that people, and like, I understand, for me, I've had a very privileged upbringing, and
Yeah.
that's not something that I've ever tried to downplay. So even when things are going quite well for me, I completely acknowledge and understand the fact that I come from a much better
Mhm.
starting position than most other people in life.
Right.
And I think for people like me, and there are people who are even more privileged than me, but people
Yeah.
who have the ability to help those who just had a really crappy start in life, I think it's
Mm.
sort of, in a sense, our responsibility to help out
Mhm.
other people. Because me having the privilege that I had, it wasn't by any like doing of my own. Like, I didn't do anything. I was just born, and I happened to be born to, the parents who were able to provide the things that I needed,
Yeah.
education and all of that, but not everybody has that opportunity. And with most of these child marriage survivors, number one, they're typically born into families that aren't necessarily super well off. And then on top of that, now you're being married off to, this much older guy, and you're probably being
Yes.
abused in
Oh my
that
God.
relationship. And, you're just having so much taken from you without it even being your fault.
Couldn't
So I
even
guess that
imagine.
just kind of, yeah. So I guess that just kind of resonated with me. And I was like, because it's always been a passion of mine. I've always said, like I said, because of my position, I feel like it's my responsibility to help other people. And I guess the reason
Mhm.
why child marriage kind of resonated with me is, number one, it's women. I cannot imagine having been married off with a
Oh my
my son has been as
gosh.
young
Me
as 7
either.
years old.
Yeah.
You know,
Not
it's
having your
just
own choice. I mean, that's just insane. Well, I definitely
yes.
applaud what you're doing. So, what advice would you give to a new entrepreneur starting off as well, and wanting to start like a brand or a program as yourself, giving back and for a passion, for, something that resonates with them and a passion and they want to give back and help? What advice would you give them?
I would say, firstly, find something that you are genuinely passionate about. I think a lot of people just kind of throw the word passion around a little too loosely
Yeah, same.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason why I say that, like, obviously, every cause, whatever cause you choose is always great. It's always great to help people, but it really has to be something that will get you up in the morning, because starting a business is not easy. It's so much
Mhm.
work. It is exhausting. It is demanding. It will take so much out of you. And
Yeah,
if
be
you don't
ready.
genuinely like love what you're doing, and you're not genuinely
Yes.
committed to what you're doing, you're probably gonna give up like halfway through.
Mhm.
So that would be the first thing. Find something that genuinely speaks to you, and that you
Yes.
genuinely are committed to putting your time towards, and putting because
Mhm.
it's going to take a lot of time before you even really start making money. Like, I'm right now with Rated 18, for example. Literally, I
Yeah.
haven't paid myself since I started this company, because I have to make sure that everybody else is paid, and other business expenses.
Exactly.
I have not earned a penny from this company yet. So for
Mhm.
me to continue putting time and work and hours of work into something that I'm not even getting paid for, you have to love you have to love what you're doing for you to
Yes,
be able to
you
continue
do.
doing.
I speak to most entrepreneurs on that, and I'm glad you say that. Being an entrepreneur is not easy.
Mm,
You definitely have to love what you're doing, and you have
mhm.
to actually, um, because it's not for everyone, right?
No, it is not.
And a lot of people start and they're just like, oh no, this is not for me, because it takes
Yeah,
definitely some hard work, some resilience, some grit to
yeah.
keep picking yourself back up. But what is great pointer that you suggested is you have to be passionate about it. You have to love what you're doing, you
Right.
know?
Absolutely.
So that's so amazing. So throughout your journey, right? And where you stand today, how would you define your success at this point?
I think, I mean, it's a simple thing, but it's a success to me that we're still here a year later, to be honest. Like that,
I
that
mean,
is already like a win for me. Because like I said, yeah, it hasn't been an easy process, especially just in terms of, limited funding. And
yes,
literally I'm doing, and because of limited funding as well, I'm literally doing everything on my own. Like I'm
yes.
operations, I'm HR, I'm the chef because I make them lunch
Right.
to work. I like
Yeah.
literally from one end of the spectrum to the other, I'm doing absolutely everything. So the fact that we're still actually operating and we're still up and running, that is a success for me.
Yeah.
That's the first success. And I think also just being able to have started the company with the limited capital that I did have.
Hmm.
um I think that was just finding creative ways basically to sort of find more affordable ways of getting the
Yeah.
same things done. So this has also really forced me to tap into like, my creative side. There's
Hmm.
some things that I won't even share that I'm almost embarrassed, like, just the testing and experimenting, just to kind of like cut costs. Like, yeah, it's really opened up the creative side of my brain just to try and
Well, you're
find different.
definitely passionate about it, huh? Yes.
For sure, definitely. But yeah, I think the biggest success for me, like I said, number one, the fact that I managed to start it with zero knowledge about what I was even doing. Yeah, zero background at all. And it was just sort of surreal for me when we had that first day of operation that, oh, okay, like this was literally just a few months ago, an idea that I was just talking to my mom and my brother about and just bouncing
Mhm.
ideas off of them. And like now, like here's an actual shoe, like we're actually, this is happening,
Right. Right.
So I think for me, we're not a big company yet. I'm sure there's a lot more successes to come that I'll be able to talk about later.
Absolutely.
But I think for me right now, the biggest thing is that we're just still above water, especially
Oh
given the
my
pandemic.
God, that's just
Yeah.
amazing. And you should celebrate that. Um, so, with that said, we want to celebrate you, celebrate your journey, celebrate where you're at right now. One more question before we go into our celebration. How do you celebrate your wins?
Funny enough, with a glass of wine mostly.
Oh,
So this is right up my alley. Like what we're doing here,
yay!
absolutely up my alley. So I think for me, the way that I typically celebrate, I love food and I love wine.
Yeah.
So I'll probably get my favorite food, which usually is ribs. Not the healthiest option, but I
Oh,
love my barbecue ribs. So I usually get some barbecue ribs from my favorite restaurant. They have amazing ribs here in Zimbabwe, and a bottle of wine. And I, just
nice.
sit at home with now it's with my fiance. Just sit at home with my fiance, eat, watch some mindless television, which is great because I just need to clear my mind and just have a good time to stop thinking. So I just watch like this absolutely useless TV, which is great just to kind of clear my head. And yeah, just sit here, we drink, eat, and yeah, that's pretty much how I celebrate. I'm very much a homebody,
Oh
so
my
I don't
God,
like to
that's
go
so
out and
funny.
do all
Like,
those
I
kinds
am
of
like
things.
very similar, wine's my thing as well. So
Yeah,
that's how I celebrate my wins. And I'm a
yeah,
foodie. So I do the exact same thing. Well, thank
yeah.
you so much for sharing your journey, your story, the struggles that you all have faced this far. And again, we're going to be celebrating your success now because we truly believe every small part of your journey is a win. You're still around, like you said. That's amazing. And we hope to help you move forward. Hope this podcast brings you more donors, maybe, right? I mean, on a different level, right? On a corporate level,
Right,
or just people wanting to be involved, to just
right.
give their time to help. And so what I like to do is I like to have a toast with a glass of wine with you. I also put together a little a little bit of kind of like a symbolic of your personality and your business that I wrote prior to this. So I actually think I nailed it for you. That I want to read to you first, and then we'll toast. Okay.
Right.
So I chose actually a deep red wine, which is a Malbec, to compare your personality, because wine is very intricate and very detailed and very deep, right, in itself. So Malbec is a layered and intense, much like you are. You have many layers, I think. I think that you're very intense and passionate in your journey. I have you prefer to relax at home than go out. Once people get to know you, you're genuine, loving, and emotional. As a red wine lover, with the deeper flavor, either a Malbec, a Cab Franc, I would think that, you're a lover, you are layered and complex, which just might come off as a little bit sexy and mysterious at the same time. And, we want to celebrate you. We think your personality is perfect for your journey and what you're doing. And as we like to say, success is like a hangover. So cheers to you, my friend, and to your journey. So cheers.
Thank you.
Yum. And thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate what you're doing as an entrepreneur. We appreciate your journey. And we look forward to continuously following the journey. Please follow us, and we will talk soon.
Awesome.
Have a great evening.
Awesome. Have a good day.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening. Make sure and subscribe to our podcast. For the latest entrepreneur buzz, sign up for our e-newsletter. Link in description. Remember, success is like a hangover. Cheers.